Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive into the world of health.
You might be thinking health again.
We know.
Really?
But trust us.
This one's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, we're going to uncover some seriously surprising insights
About cancer.
that even a fifth grader could grasp.
Absolutely.
So get ready to have your mind blown.
Because today we're talking about
The possibility
of actually starving cancer cells.
without harming the rest of your body.
Sounds crazy, right?
It all stems from this fascinating conversation with Dr. Thomas Seyfried.
He's a leading expert in cancer metabolism.
Okay, so to kick things off,
Let's jump right into a question posed to Dr. Seyfried by Dr. Junda, who is a practicing oncologist.
can we really starve cancer?
Right.
Now get this.
Dr. Seyfried drops this bombshell fact,
Cyanide.
which is obviously deadly to humans.
Deadly.
It doesn't kill tumor cells.
How wild is that?
It's pretty wild.
Like what?
This unexpected finding points to a fundamental difference between how cancer cells and healthy cells generate energy.
Okay.
And it's one of the key observations that led Dr. Seyfried to his groundbreaking theory.
Which is
Cancer is primarily
primarily
a metabolic disease.
not just a genetic one.
Right.
So we've all heard about cancer being linked to genes and DNA mutations.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to call it a metabolic disease?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Our cells need energy to function, right? They usually get that energy from a process that uses oxygen,
Okay.
kind of like how a car engine needs oxygen to burn fuel.
Okay. I got you.
But cancer cells are different.
How so?
They rely more heavily on a process called fermentation,
Fermentation.
which doesn't need oxygen.
Okay.
It's like they have a backup generator that runs on a different kind of fuel.
Interesting.
So they've got options.
So fermentation is like a different way for cells to make energy.
Mm-hmm.
But what exactly is fermentation?
Imagine you're baking bread.
Okay. I like bread.
The yeast in the dough uses fermentation to convert sugar into energy,
Okay.
which creates those tiny bubbles of gas that make the bread rise.
Oh, yeah.
In a similar way,
Okay.
cancer cells use fermentation to
Mhm.
break down glucose and glutamine,
Glucose and glutamine.
two types of fuel to get the energy they need to grow.
Gotcha.
They're little bread makers.
So cancer cells are like little bread-making machines churning away using fermentation to power their growth.
Yes.
That's a great way to picture it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that's been bugging me.
Okay.
If fermentation is this backup energy system,
Yeah.
why can't all cells just use it?
That is a fantastic question.
Really?
And it gets to the heart of why this whole metabolic approach to cancer is so important.
Really?
You see some cells in our body, like the neurons in our brain
Okay.
and the muscles in our heart,
Sure.
absolutely need oxygen to survive.
Yeah.
They can't ferment like cancer cells can.
Interesting.
And guess what?
What?
We rarely see cancer in those tissues.
Whoa. That's incredible.
Isn't that interesting?
So are you saying that if we could somehow cut off a cancer cell supply of glucose and glutamine, the fuels they use for fermentation, it would essentially starve to death?
Exactly.
Right?
That's the idea behind Dr. Seyfried's approach.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Lay it on me.
Because there's a way to do that
Okay.
using something you might have heard of before,
Okay.
the ketogenic diet.
Wait, keto?
Keto.
Like the diet that was all the rage a few years ago?
Yeah,
The one everyone was using to lose weight?
that's the one.
Okay.
Remember how keto focuses on drastically reducing carbohydrates
Yeah.
and increasing healthy fats?
Uh-huh.
Well, it turns out that when you do that, your body shifts into a state called ketosis,
Ketosis.
where it starts burning fat for fuel instead of glucose.
Okay, so instead of using glucose as fuel, our body starts running on fat. But how does that affect cancer cells?
That's the brilliant part. By putting your body into ketosis, you're essentially creating an environment
Yes.
where glucose is scarce.
Okay.
And since cancer cells rely heavily on glucose for their fermentation process, they're suddenly deprived of their primary fuel source.
Wow.
It's like cutting off their food supply.
That's amazing.
Right.
But what about glutamine?
Right.
You mentioned that cancer cells also use glutamine for fuel.
You're right. Glutamine is a bit trickier.
Oh,
We need glutamine for our immune system to function properly.
Okay.
So we can't just eliminate it completely.
gotcha.
But Dr. Seyfried has developed a clever strategy
Okay.
to target glutamine
Right.
in a way that's safe and effective.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He calls it
Tell me.
the press-pulse approach.
Pressfuls.
It's a two-pronged attack that targets cancer cells' metabolic weaknesses while protecting the rest of your body.
Okay.
The press refers to the consistent pressure
Pressure.
you put on cancer cells by maintaining a ketogenic diet. This keeps glucose levels low and forces cancer cells to rely more on glutamine.
So that's the press constantly depriving those cancer cells of their favorite food.
Yes.
What about the pulse?
The pulse involves strategically using low doses of drugs
Okay.
that specifically target glutamine metabolism in cancer cells.
Gotcha.
It's like delivering a targeted strike right where it hurts without harming healthy cells.
I want to take a moment to introduce our YouTube channel,
Yes.
Thinkiverse.
Thinkiverse.
If you are loving this deep dive and you are hungry for more mind-blowing knowledge,
I know I am.
Thinkiverse is the place to be.
Definitely.
We're all about unlocking knowledge across the spectrum.
Every day.
So head over to YouTube
Search for Thinkiverse podcast.
and hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
You will get notifications whenever we release a new episode.
So you won't miss out on any of these amazing insights.
You're so glad you're joining us on this journey of discovery.
We are.
All right, now back to Dr. Seyfried's groundbreaking work. We were just about to delve into the specifics of his press pulse strategy.
Well, one of the most fascinating aspects of the pulse phase
Yes.
is the potential use of low-dose chemotherapy.
Wait, chemo?
Chemo.
I thought the whole idea was to move away from harsh treatments like chemotherapy.
That's a common misconception.
Okay.
Dr. Seyfried isn't advocating for the traditional high-dose chemotherapy
Okay.
that often comes with debilitating side effects.
Right.
Instead, he's exploring the use of very low doses of chemo
Okay.
in combination with ketosis as a way to further target cancer cells
Okay.
that have been weakened by glucose deprivation.
So it's like using chemo in a much more strategic and targeted way.
Precisely.
Almost like a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer.
Exactly.
And this approach aligns with a broader theme that runs throughout Dr. Seyfried's work. The idea that cancer may be largely preventable.
Largely preventable.
Through lifestyle changes.
Yes.
Hold on, are we talking about preventing cancer altogether?
It might sound too good to be true.
Is that even possible?
But Dr. Seyfried's research suggests that it could be within our reach.
Wow.
He points to fascinating observations
Okay.
about Aboriginal populations in chimpanzees
Interesting.
who have remarkably low rates of cancer.
Okay.
What do they have in common?
What?
Their diets are naturally low in carbohydrates,
Uh-huh.
and they lead very active lifestyles.
So it's not just about genetics.
No, it's not just about genetics.
There's a strong link between diet
There is
lifestyle, and cancer risk.
and cancer risk, absolutely.
But how exactly does that work?
Well, one key factor is inflammation.
Okay.
Chronic inflammation, often caused by poor diet and lack of exercise,
Yeah.
can damage the tiny powerhouses within our cells called mitochondria.
Mitochondria.
And when mitochondria are damaged, they can't function properly,
Okay.
which creates an environment that's ripe for cancer development.
So inflammation is like setting the stage for cancer to take hold. But how does that relate to what we eat?
Think about it this way. Processed foods,
Yeah.
those convenient but often unhealthy options,
Yeah.
are loaded with sugar, unhealthy fats, and artificial ingredients.
Okay.
These foods are major drivers of inflammation in our bodies.
So even if you're on a keto diet, if you're still eating a lot of processed foods, you're essentially working against yourself.
Yes,
It's like trying to put out a fire while pouring gasoline on it at the same time.
100%.
It's not just about what you avoid, but also
Yeah.
about what you choose to nourish your body with.
Yes.
Whole unprocessed foods, like fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats, provide the nutrients our cells need to function optimally and fight off disease.
That's right.
It's about making conscious choices that support our overall health and well-being.
It is.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
Those processed foods can be so tempting.
They are.
It's hard to resist the convenience and the deliciousness.
I hear you.
It's true, our modern world makes it easy to fall into the trap of convenience.
It does.
But it's important to remember that those choices come with a price. They do. Processed foods might offer a quick fix, but they contribute to chronic inflammation,
Yes.
which, as we've discussed, can have serious consequences for our health.
Right.
So it's about taking a step back and recognizing the long-term impact of our daily choices. But it's not just about food, right?
Yeah.
Exercise plays a crucial role too.
Absolutely.
We evolved to be active, and that movement is essential for keeping our cells healthy and functioning at their best. It's not just about burning calories or losing weight.
No.
It's about supporting our metabolic health at a fundamental level.
It is.
You know, I've always struggled with exercise.
Yeah.
but you're making me rethink my entire approach.
I love to hear that.
It's not about punishment or vanity.
Right.
It's about giving our bodies the movement they crave.
Yes.
And speaking of health, there's this fascinating tool that Dr. Seyfried and his team developed that I think our listeners will find really interesting.
I agree.
It's called the Glucose Ketone Index.
Or GKI for short.
The GKI is like a window into our metabolic health.
Yes.
It's a blood test that measures the ratio of glucose to ketones in our blood, giving us valuable insights into how efficiently our body is using energy.
Yes.
So it's not just about having low glucose or high ketones, it's about the balance between the two.
Exactly.
And the lower your GKI, the better. It indicates that your body is efficiently burning fat for fuel
Yes.
and that your cells are functioning optimally.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Isn't it?
But is this test only for people who are already dealing with cancer or other health issues?
Not at all.
Really?
What's so remarkable about the GKI is that even healthy individuals are now using it to gain a deeper understanding of their metabolic health.
Wow.
And make informed decisions about their lifestyle.
So it's like a proactive way to monitor your health and potentially identify areas where you could make improvements.
Precisely.
This is all so mind-blowing. I'm starting to see cancer in a whole new light.
Right.
Not as this random, unavoidable disease,
Yeah.
but as a metabolic process that we could potentially influence through our choices.
Exactly.
That's a paradigm shift.
It is.
And that's what's so exciting about this research.
Absolutely.
It gives us hope and empowers us to take a more proactive role in our health.
It does.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
But believe me, there is so much more to explore.
I know.
We'll be back with part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into this fascinating world of cancer metabolism and the press pulse strategy.
I'm excited. Till then,
Keep those amazing questions coming.
we'll see you in part 2. Bye. Bye. And you know what's really fascinating about the GKI?
What?
It's not just about measuring ketones and glucose individually.
I thought that was the whole point of the glucose ketone index, to see how much glucose and ketones you have in your blood.
That's true. Those are the two key components. But the real magic of the GKI lies in the ratio between them.
Okay, so it's not just about having low glucose or high ketones on their own. It's about the relationship between the two.
Exactly. That ratio provides a snapshot of your metabolic flexibility, how efficiently your body is using energy.
So a low GKI means your body is in fat-burning mode, like a well-oiled machine running on premium fuel.
You got it. And when your body is primarily burning fat for energy, it creates an environment that is very challenging for cancer cells to thrive in.
It's like they're suddenly stuck in a world where their favorite food source is nowhere to be found.
That's a great way to put it. And this metabolic shift driven by a ketogenic lifestyle can play a significant role in both managing and potentially even preventing cancer.
So it's not just about treating cancer after it develops, but also about creating a bodily environment that is less hospitable to cancer in the first place.
Precisely. It's like building a fortress to protect yourself from invaders.
I love that analogy. Instead of passively waiting for something bad to happen, we're actively strengthening our defenses.
And remember, building a strong fortress involves more than just diet and exercise, though those are certainly crucial components. It's also about managing stress, getting enough sleep, and minimizing exposure to toxins.
So it's about adopting a holistic approach to health, considering all aspects of our well-being.
Exactly. It's about treating our bodies with respect and providing them with the resources they need to function optimally.
Speaking of resources, you mentioned earlier that intermittent fasting can play a role in supporting metabolic health. Can you elaborate on that a bit? I've heard so much about intermittent fasting, but I'm not entirely sure how it works or why it's beneficial.
Intermittent fasting is essentially a pattern of eating that cycles between periods of eating and voluntary fasting on a regular schedule. It's not about what you eat, but when you eat.
So it's like giving your digestive system a break, allowing your body to focus on other processes.
That's a great way to think about it. During those fasting periods, your body starts to tap into its stored fat for energy, which, as we've discussed, can have positive effects on metabolic health and create an environment that's less favorable to cancer cells.
It's like hitting the reset button on your metabolism, giving your body a chance to clean house and optimize its functions.
Exactly, and the research on intermittent fasting is quite promising, suggesting that it can have numerous benefits, including improved insulin sensitivity, reduced inflammation, and even enhanced brain function.
This is also fascinating, starting to see how all these pieces fit together. Diet, exercise, stress management, intermittent fasting. It's all interconnected and contributes to our overall metabolic health.
That's the beauty of taking a holistic approach. It's about recognizing that our bodies are complex systems
Hmm.
and that every choice we make, every action we take, has an impact on our well-being.
I remember you mentioned earlier that Dr. Seyfried advocates for the use of low-dose chemotherapy in conjunction with a ketogenic diet. I'm still a bit confused about that. If the ketogenic diet is so effective at starving cancer cells, why would you need chemotherapy at all?
That's a great question, and it's important to clarify that Dr. Seyfried's approach is all about using the lowest possible effective dose of chemotherapy.
So it's not about bombarding the body with toxins, as is often the case with traditional chemotherapy.
Exactly. It's about using chemotherapy in a much more targeted and strategic way, almost like a sniper rifle instead of a shotgun.
And how does this low-dose chemotherapy work in conjunction with the ketogenic diet?
Remember, the ketogenic diet creates an environment where cancer cells are already weakened by glucose deprivation. This makes them more vulnerable to the effects of chemotherapy, even at very low doses.
So it's like a 1-2 punch, using the ketogenic diet to set the stage,
Uh,
and then using low-dose chemotherapy to deliver a targeted blow.
exactly. And by using a lower dose of chemotherapy, you can minimize the side effects that are often associated with traditional chemotherapy treatments.
This approach sounds so much more aligned with the idea of supporting the body's natural healing mechanisms rather than overwhelming it with toxins.
That's precisely the philosophy behind Dr. Seyfried's work. It's about working with the body, not against it.
Okay, so we've talked about diet, exercise, stress management, intermittent fasting, and even the potential role of low-dose chemotherapy. But is there anything else we can do to support our metabolic health and reduce our risk of cancer?
One crucial aspect that we haven't touched on yet is the importance of getting enough sleep.
Sleep. I know it's important for feeling rested and energized, but how does it relate to cancer prevention?
Sleep is essential for our bodies to repair and regenerate. It's during sleep that our cells go into repair mode, fixing damage and restoring balance. When we consistently deprive ourselves of sleep, we disrupt these essential processes, which can weaken our immune system and increase our susceptibility to disease, including cancer.
So it's not just about feeling tired or groggy. Chronic sleep deprivation can have serious consequences for our health.
Exactly. And it's not just about the quantity of sleep, but also the quality, creating a relaxing bedtime routine, making sure your bedroom is dark and quiet, and avoiding screen time before bed can all contribute to a more restful and restorative sleep.
This is all starting to paint a picture of a lifestyle that prioritizes balance and harmony, recognizing that all aspects of our well-being are interconnected.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports our body's natural ability to thrive.
Before we move on, I want to remind our listeners about Thinkiverse Podcast, our YouTube channel where we explore all sorts of fascinating topics, from science and technology to history and culture. If you're enjoying this deep dive into cancer metabolism, you'll definitely want to check out our other episodes.
We release new content every day, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out.
We're so glad you're part of our community of knowledge seekers.
Now, getting back to our discussion, one question that often comes up when talking about cancer prevention is, should everyone be on a ketogenic diet?
That's a great question. What are your thoughts on that? Is a ketogenic diet necessary for everyone to reduce their risk of cancer?
While a ketogenic diet can be a powerful tool for some individuals, it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all solution. It's important to remember that everyone's body is different, and what works for one person may not work for another.
So it's not about adopting a rigid diet plan, but rather about understanding the principles behind a ketogenic lifestyle and adapting them to your individual needs and preferences.
Exactly. It's about finding what works best for you and creating a sustainable way of eating that supports your overall health and well-being.
So what would you say are the key takeaways for our listeners when it comes to making dietary choices that can reduce their risk of cancer?
First and foremost, I would emphasize the importance of minimizing processed foods. Those convenient packaged foods are often loaded with sugar, unhealthy fats, and artificial ingredients that can contribute to inflammation and disrupt our metabolic balance.
So ditch the drive-through and opt for whole unprocessed foods as much as possible.
Exactly. Focus on filling your plate with colorful fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, and whole grains. These foods provide the nutrients our bodies need to thrive and create an environment that is less hospitable to cancer cells.
And it's not just about what we eat, but also how much we eat. Portion control and mindful eating can play a significant role in maintaining a healthy weight and supporting metabolic health.
That's right. It's about listening to our body's signals and eating until we're satisfied, not stuffed.
So to recap, the key dietary principles for reducing cancer risk include minimizing processed foods, embracing whole unprocessed foods, and practicing portion control and mindful eating.
Precisely. These are simple yet powerful steps that can have a profound impact on our health and well-being.
Okay, so we've covered diet in depth, but what about exercise? What role does physical activity play in cancer prevention?
Exercise is absolutely crucial for maintaining a healthy metabolism and reducing cancer risk. Remember, we evolved to be active, and our bodies thrive on movement.
But with our modern sedentary lifestyles, it can be challenging to get enough exercise. What type of exercise is most beneficial for cancer prevention?
The good news is that any type of physical activity is better than none. Aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week.
What does moderate intensity exercise look like?
It's any activity that gets your heart rate up and makes you breathe a little harder. Brisk walking, jogging, swimming, cycling, dancing, these are all great options.
And it doesn't have to be all at once. You can break up your exercise into shorter intervals throughout the day.
Exactly. Even 10 minutes here and there can add up and make a difference.
So the key is to find activities that you enjoy and that fit into your lifestyle.
Precisely. Exercise shouldn't feel like a chore. It should be something you look forward to.
You know, I've always been intimidated by the idea of intense workouts. But you're making me realize that even simple activities like walking can have a significant impact on our health.
That's right. Every step counts.
So to recap, exercise plays a vital role in cancer prevention by supporting a healthy metabolism, boosting our immune system, and reducing inflammation. Aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week and find activities that you enjoy and that fit into your lifestyle.
Exactly. And remember, consistency is key. Making exercise a regular part of your routine will have the greatest impact on your health.
Okay, so we've discussed diet, exercise, and sleep as essential pillars of a cancer prevention lifestyle. But what about stress management? I know stress can take a toll on our overall well-being, but how does it relate to cancer specifically?
Stress is a natural part of life, but when it becomes chronic, it can wreak havoc on our bodies, weakening our immune system and increasing our susceptibility to disease, including cancer.
So it's not just about feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Chronic stress can have real physiological consequences.
Exactly. When we're stressed, our bodies release hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which in small doses can be helpful for dealing with acute threats.
It's like our body's fight or flight response kicking in.
Exactly. But when we're chronically stressed, those hormones are constantly elevated, which can disrupt our hormonal balance, suppress our immune system, and even damage our DNA, increasing the risk of cancer development.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress is crucial for our overall health and well-being.
Absolutely. And there's so many effective stress management techniques out there. Exercise, meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones. These are all great ways to reduce stress and promote relaxation.
So it's about finding what works best for you and incorporating stress-reducing activities into your daily routine.
Precisely. And remember, stress management is an ongoing practice. There will always be stressors in our lives, but it's about developing healthy coping mechanisms to navigate those challenges without letting them overwhelm us.
This is all so insightful. I'm starting to see how a holistic approach to health encompassing diet, exercise, sleep, and stress management can create a powerful shield against cancer.
That's the beauty of taking a comprehensive approach. It's about recognizing that all aspects of our well-being are interconnected and that by supporting one area, we support them all.
You know, I'm curious about something. Dr. Seyfried has done extensive research on Aboriginal populations and chimpanzees who have remarkably low rates of cancer. What is it about their lifestyles that makes them so resilient to this disease?
Their lifestyles embody many of the principles we've been discussing. They eat diets that are naturally low in carbohydrates and high in nutrients. They're constantly active, they live in close connection with nature, and they have strong social bonds.
So it's not just one thing, it's a combination of factors that contribute to their overall health and well-being.
Exactly. Their lifestyles represent a blueprint for healthy living that we can learn from and adapt to our own modern lives.
I'm starting to see that cancer prevention is not about following a rigid set of rules, but rather about embracing a way of life that prioritizes balanced nourishment and connection.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports our body's natural ability to thrive and resist disease.
This whole conversation has been so enlightening. I feel like I'm gaining a whole new understanding of cancer and the power we have to influence our health.
That's what we love to hear. It's all about empowering you with knowledge and inspiring you to make choices that support your well-being.
We've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive, but there's still so much more to explore. We'll be back with part 3, where we'll delve even deeper into the fascinating world of cancer metabolism and the groundbreaking research of Dr. Seyfried.
Until then, keep those questions coming, and don't forget to check out Thinkiverse podcast on YouTube for more mind-blowing insights.
We'll see you in part 3. Welcome back to part 3 of our deep dive into cancer metabolism.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that we're only just beginning to understand, these intricate workings of our bodies.
Right.
And how they relate to diseases like cancer.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yeah.
Uncovering new insights with every layer we remove.
And what's so exciting is that these insights are empowering us to take a more proactive role in our health.
We've talked a lot about how lifestyle choices can influence our risk of cancer.
Yeah.
But I'm still curious about the specific differences, between the lifestyles of those who rarely get cancer.
Right.
Like Aboriginal populations and chimpanzees.
Yeah.
And our modern lifestyles.
It's fascinating to observe how their ways of life differ from ours.
Right.
They live in close harmony with nature. Engaging in regular physical activity as part of their daily routines.
Their diets consist primarily of whole, unprocessed foods, and they experience far less chronic stress than we typically do in our fast-paced modern world.
Exactly. Their lifestyles embody many of the principles we've been discussing.
Yes.
Minimizing processed foods, embracing whole unprocessed foods, engaging in regular physical activity, managing stress, and getting enough sleep.
It's almost like they've intuitively tapped into a blueprint for healthy living, a blueprint that we can learn from and adapt to our own lives.
Precisely. While we may not be able to replicate their lifestyles exactly, we can certainly glean valuable insights from their ways of life.
So what are some practical steps that our listeners can take to incorporate these principles into their own lives?
Start by making small, gradual changes to your diet.
Okay.
Swap out processed snacks for fresh fruits and vegetables. Experiment with new, healthy recipes. And make a conscious effort to eat mindfully.
Find ways to increase your physical activity throughout the day.
Yes.
Take the stairs instead of the elevator.
Right.
Walk or bike to work if possible.
Yeah.
And explore new forms of exercise that you enjoy.
Make time for relaxation and stress management.
Okay.
Practice meditation, yoga, or deep breathing exercises. Spend time in nature and nurture your social connections.
Create a relaxing bedtime routine and prioritize getting enough sleep. Our bodies need that downtime to repair and regenerate.
And remember, consistency is key.
Yes.
It's not about making drastic changes overnight, but rather about cultivating healthy habits that you can sustain over time.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah.
When faced with the prospect of making lifestyle change.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that even small steps can have a significant impact on our health.
Absolutely. Every positive choice we make, every healthy habit we cultivate, moves us closer to a state of optimal well-being.
It's like we're building a foundation.
Yeah.
For a healthier, more resilient future brick by brick.
That's a beautiful analogy. And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Right.
There are so many resources available to support you on your journey, from books and websites to health coaches and support groups.
Throughout this deep dive, we've explored a lot of groundbreaking research and innovative approaches to cancer prevention. But I think it's important to emphasize that this information is not intended to replace professional medical advice.
Exactly. If you have any concerns about your health, or if you're experiencing any symptoms, it's crucial to consult with a qualified healthcare professional.
We encourage you to use this information as a starting point for a conversation with your doctor, to ask questions and to make informed decisions about your health.
Remember, knowledge is power, and the more you understand about your body and how it works, the better equipped you'll be to make choices that support your well-being.
As we wrap up this 3-part deep dive into cancer metabolism, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
If a simple blood test like the glucose ketone index can provide valuable insights into our metabolic health,
imagine what other discoveries await us as we continue to explore the intricate workings of our bodies.
It's a reminder to stay curious.
Yes.
To keep asking questions.
Absolutely.
And to embrace the ongoing journey of discovery that is life itself.
And don't forget to check out Thinkiverse podcast on YouTube for more mind-blowing insights.
Thinkiverse podcast.
Into the world around us.
Until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and keep those mitochondria humming.
Bye.
Bye.